The drought that struck the Midwest last year may be a memory for some, but for cattle traders, it is still very fresh on their minds. Neil Melancon now joins us to tell us why we are still being haunted by the specter of last year's drought in this week's Bottom Line.
The Bottom Line is brought to you by the Cotton Board, strengthening the fiber of our industry, and by First South Farm Credit, financing rural America since 1933.
As Mike said, the drought of 2012 is still with us in the form of both reduced cattle and reduced beef production. Why it's relevant now is that we're really starting to feel the pinch of it, something as consumers we were insulated from last year. When the drought struck, ranchers began selling off their cattle, so while there was a drop in the national livestock herd, there was a surplus of beef as all that slaughter took place. Now we're feeling it. In its late August cattle on feed report, USDA is showing a year-to-year drop of 6% in feedlot inventory. Placements into feedlots in July alone totaled 1.7 million head, down 10.5% from last year. For calves under 600 pounds, that jumps to 22% less than 2012. All this is leading to an end-of-the-year drop in beef production of almost 5%. When you subtract that from our early year surplus, that puts us down for the year about 1.5%. For next year, beef production is estimated down by more than 5% total. The bottom line is both good news and bad news. The good news is that we're retaining cattle for breeding purposes, the first definite signal we're rebuilding the U.S. herd. The bad news is kind of like a bad haircut. We have to go through that first ugly growth stage. Beef supplies will continue to shrink, Mike, which means prices in the grocery store, at least through next year, well, do I really have to tell you they're going to go up?
No, Neil, you don't, because throughout the year you have just been a wealth of good news when it comes to consumers and grocery shopping. Neil Melancon, thanks. And remember, you can listen to any of Neil's daily radio reports on the Louisiana Farm Bureau Agri-News Radio Network. For a list of stations where you can tune in or listen online, click on over to our website, twilatv.org, and click on the LF Barn link. That's a wrap for this edition of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Next week, we'll bring you an encore presentation of our program, but in 2 weeks, we are headed back into Holly Clegg's Trim and Terrific Kitchen for a great recipe using those great Louisiana products. Until then, you can watch any of our stories from this week's show or episodes past by visiting our website, twilatv.org. For all of us here at This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, I'm Michael Dana. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Hope to see you again right here next week.